I'm Gloria Allred, and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Gloria, and I'm Randy Hansen. In World News headlines today, report says U.S. taxpayers will subsidize mortgage settlement. And Eurozone ministers consider $171 billion Greek bailout. And hundreds of thousands protest austerity measures in Spain. And U.S. and British officials urge Israel to back off on Iran attack. And Syrians call for a day of defiance again after weekend violence, and U.S. senators urge arming of rebels. And Bahraini government deports 4 more human rights observers. And Palestinian prisoner risking death on 65th day of hunger strike. And a report says NYPD spied on Muslim college students throughout the Northeast. And Romney campaign co-chair in Arizona resigns. And Santorum challenges Obama's Christian values. And U.S. Supreme Court blocks century-old Montana ban on corporate campaign spending. And billionaire casino mogul pledges $10 million more to Gingrich Super PAC. And a lawsuit filed to block license of new nuclear reactors in Georgia. An FBI sting operation foils U.S. Capitol suicide bomb plot. A California prisoner dies during hunger strike over jail conditions. After public campaign, Foxconn to increase wages, reduce overtime hours at Chinese factory. And sports news giant criticized over racist phrase in Jeremy Lin headline. GVTV News would like to say the views expressed on our news broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views of NCTV Digital Media Center. But before these stories, GVTV would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, Financial Times has reported U.S. taxpayers will subsidize part of its $26 billion settlement owed by 5 leading banks to resolve claims over faulty foreclosures and mortgage practices. A clause in the provisional agreement, which has not been made public, allows the banks to count future loan modifications made under a previous foreclosure prevention initiative towards their restructuring obligations for the new settlement. The former Special Inspector General of TARP said this means the mortgage settlement is essentially another bailout for the banks. Isn't that nice? Eurozone finance minister has expected to approve a second bailout worth $171 billion for Greece yesterday. The vote comes one day after thousands of Greeks took to the streets to protest against austerity measures. Strathos Anastas, the Greek union leader, spoke out and said they are insisting on a policy that is choking us, that is driving us to catastrophe, that they have to understand that in real life this policy is disastrous for both the society and economy. That is why we continue to protest. We will continue as long as they keep insisting on these dead-end policies. And hundreds of thousands of workers protested across Spain Sunday against government's latest austerity measures that made it easier to slash pay and lay off workers. Top U.S. and British officials publicly urged Israel on Sunday not to attack Iran over their country's disputed nuclear program. In separate interviews, General Martin Dempsey, chair of the U.S. Joint Chief of Staff, and British Foreign Secretary William Hague said an Israeli attack on Iran would have grave consequences for the entire region. And he said, I think it would be premature to exclusively decide that the time for a military option was upon us. I mean, I think that the economic sanctions and the international cooperation that we've been able to gather around sanctions is beginning to have an effect. I think our diplomacy is having an effect, our preparedness. I mean, fundamentally, we have to be prepared, and that includes, for the most part, being prepared defensively. Dempsey comment came as the Obama administration and the Israeli government continued to engage in intense talks over Iran. A delegation headed by the U.S. National Security Advisor, Thomas Donnellan, arrived in Israel on Saturday. James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, will travel to Israel later this week. On Sunday, Iran's oil minister announced it is halting oil shipments to Britain and France. Al Jazeera is reporting Syrian activists have called for a day of defiance after security services fired on mourners attending a massive funeral in Damascus on Saturday. On Sunday, Foreign Secretary William Hague warned Syria could be sliding into civil war. Hague made the comment after opponents of President Bashar al-Assad assassinated a Syrian prosecutor and judge. In the United States, Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham called on the United States to begin arming the Syrian rebels in an effort to topple President Assad. The U.S.-backed Bahraini government has deported 4 more international human rights observers, bringing to 12 the number of expelled over the past weeks. Activists visited the Gulf state as part of a Witness Bahrain effort to monitor the country's crackdown on pro-democracy protests. A Palestinian prisoner being held in Israel without charges or trial has begun his 65th day of hunger strike. Qadar Adnan has refused to eat since he was arrested in mid-December. Doctors say he is in immediate risk of death. In a video posted online Sunday, Qadar Adnan can be heard yelling from his hospital room, saying the strike continues until there's dignity and freedom. Adnan is being held under so-called administrative detention, which means Israel can detain him indefinitely without trial or charge. Randa Adnan, Qadar's wife, said his health is regressing, his health situation is getting worse, but his morale is strong, and he believes this situation will end with his victory. The Associated Press has revealed in New York City's police department monitored Muslim college students at schools throughout the Northeast, including Yale University and University of Pennsylvania. In one case, the NYPD sent an undercover agent on a whitewater rafting trip in upstate New York, where he recorded students' names and noted in police intelligence files how many times they prayed. Republican presidential hopeful Mitt Romney's campaign co-chair in Arizona, Sheriff Paul Babu, has stepped down after allegations emerged that he was gay and that he once threatened to deport his ex-boyfriend to Mexico. Babu serves as sheriff of Pinal County in Arizona, is currently running for Congress. And Republican Rick Santorum has come under criticism for questioning President Obama's Christian values. Santorum accused the president of being motivated by a phony theology not based on the Bible. He said, it's not about you, it's not about your quality of life, it's not about your jobs, it's about some phony ideal, some phony theology. Oh, not a theology based on the Bible, a different theology, but nonetheless a theology. In campaign finance news, the U.S. Supreme Court has blocked a century-old Montana ban on corporate campaign spending. Early this year, the Montana Supreme Court ruled the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in the Citizens United case did not apply to the state. And billionaire casino mogul Sheldon Adelson is reportedly preparing to donate an additional $10 million to the super PAC supporting Republican presidential hopeful Newt Gingrich. Adelson's family has already given the super PAC $11 million. The Center for Public Integrity reports that contributions are among the largest publicly reported donations to a single entity in federal campaign history. And a coalition of environmental and watchdog groups have filed a lawsuit to block the license that U.S. regulators issued last week for the country's first new nuclear reactors in more than 30 years. Atlanta-based Southern Company is attempting to build 2 new reactors at the Vogtle plant near Waynesboro in eastern Georgia, near the South Carolina border. A Moroccan-born man was arrested on Friday in Washington, D.C. on terrorism-related charges for allegedly planning to carry out a suicide bombing at the U.S. Capitol. The man, Amin El-Khalifi, was arrested on his way to the Capitol in what turned out to be an FBI sting operation. At the time of his arrest, Khalifi was carrying what he believed was an explosive and a gun, but all the items were given to him by the undercover agent. Prison officials in California have confirmed 27-year-old prisoner died earlier this month while in a hunger strike. Christian Alexander Gomez died 6 days after he and 31 other prisoners in Corcoran State Prison Administration Segregation Unit began refusing food to protest restrictions on access to health, good food, and legal services. And in news from China, the manufacturing giant Foxconn has announced plans to increase wages for many of its workers and reduce overtime hours at its factories. Foxconn is one of the biggest manufacturers of products for Apple, Dell, Hewlett-Packard, and other electronic companies. Its labor practices have come under intense scrutiny in recent months. And ESPN has fired one of its employees and suspended another for using racist phrase in connection with New York Knicks guard Jeremy Lin. After the Knicks lost Friday night, ESPN posted a story on its mobile site headlined, "Chink in the Armor." Lin is the NBA's first American-born player of Chinese or Taiwanese descent. And that's it for World News today. Now we'd like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
Something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter and pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. Grass Valley Police Department on Thursday, 7:58 a.m. A caller from 400 block of Holly Drive reported her children had been stealing money from her during the night as they know her hiding spots. At 8:21 a.m., a female caller from an unknown location reported that her boyfriend would not leave her car. The boyfriend said could be heard in the background saying, "You have my keys." At 12:05 p.m., a caller from intersection of Sutton Way and Brunswick Road reported a vehicle jumped a curb, hit two cars, passed through a red light, and headed north on Highway 49. The driver was suffering a medical emergency. At 1:56 p.m., a caller from 300 block of North Star Place reported that two guns were stolen from his residence. At 12:18 p.m., a caller from 200 block of Arcadia Drive reported a neighbor backing out of their residence hit a garage and failed to report the incident. At 3:51 p.m., a caller from an unknown location reported a young pregnant female was found in an alleyway and was behaving irrational. The female stated that her boyfriend was on drugs and behaving irrationally. At 3:55 p.m., a caller from Hughes Road reported a male juvenile was smoking pot from a pipe. At 4:15 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Wan Way reported the video surveillance he had taken indicates 7 individuals were under his residence. At 4:28 p.m., a caller from Nevada City Highway reported that vagrants were urinating on a local business. At 6:41 p.m., a caller from 200 block of Sutton Way reported that her neighbor slapped her in the face. Neighbor had reported mental health issues and no charges were pressed. And Friday, 6:08 a.m., a caller from 100 block of Park Avenue reported a male subject was shining a flashlight into multiple houses in the area. Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Thursday, 10:29 a.m., a caller from McCourtney Road reported a juvenile was in possession of a knife on school grounds. At 10:36 a.m., a caller from 13,000 block of Red Dog Road reported that a male subject was throwing her belongings out of a residence. At 10:46 a.m., a caller from 15,000 block of Little Valley Road reported a verbal dispute erupted after she attempted to have her roommate evicted. At 12:14 p.m., a caller from intersection of Wolf and Lime Kiln Roads reported loose cattle in the roadway. Are those your cattle, Eddie? 12:17 p.m., a caller from 900 block of Maidu Avenue reported a male subject screaming and kicking the door of a local law enforcement agency. And 1:30 p.m., a caller from 21,000 block of Scotts Flat Road reported an incident of financial elder abuse. And 2:51 p.m., a caller from 14,000 block of Rough and Ready Highway reported a dispute between a landlord and a tenant over a blue and gold macaw bird. The landlord claimed that the people were complaining that the bird talks too much, while the tenant said the bird knows only a few words and none of which are profane. 7:20 p.m., caller from 10,000 block of Moat Lane reported a stripped vehicle had been executing donuts on his front lawn. And 8:20 p.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Highway 174 reported that juvenile jewelry was taken from a residence. 8:38 p.m., a caller from 14,000 block of Pleasant Valley Road persisted in shining a green laser into the eyes of children at a school gymnasium. And Nevada City Police Department on Thursday, 10:34 p.m., caller from Broad Street Overpass reported a female subject was in the area and appeared extremely irate. And that's it for Police Blotter today. Now, we would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In local news headlines, CHP callers alleged meth dealer. And alcohol could be a factor in 2 vehicle crashes. In Grass Valley, sales tax hike to support police and fire. And man who ran down cattle dog to serve jail time. Today's first local story, written by Matthew Renda of the Union, a rough and ready man, was arrested for possession of a controlled substance believed to be methamphetamine and intent to distribute Thursday night, according to California Highway Patrol. Mark Dwayne Bowden, 32, was driving a Cadillac sedan westbound on Highway 20 and 49 near the Empire Street off-ramp when he was pulled over by CHP at about 10 p.m. due to multiple equipment infractions. Bowden allegedly failed to produce identification upon contact, according to CHP's news release. Ensuing vehicle search yielded a large illegal knife, nearly 2 pounds of suspected methamphetamine, a digital scale, packaging materials, around $5,000 in assorted bills, and various items of drug paraphernalia, CHP reported. Depending on the quality, a conservative estimate rates 2 pounds of methamphetamine at a street value of $20,000. Bowden was arrested and booked into Wayne Brown Correctional Facility, where he is being held on a $100,000 bail. Along with possession of a controlled substance for sale, Bowden was charged with possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of an illegal weapon, according to the CHP. In another Matthew Renda story, a pair of serious car accidents occurred in western Nevada County on Saturday morning, with one resulting in a fatality, law enforcement officials have said. Alcohol is suspected to be a factor in both incidents, according to the California Highway Patrol. Kenneth Layton, 25, of Reno, Nevada, was killed at around 8:55 a.m. Saturday when his dirt bike was drifted into an oncoming lane. He collided with a rock and was ejected from atop the vehicle. Layton was traveling south on Auburn Road at approximately 40 miles per hour when he collided with a rock. He landed on his back amid rocks about 30 feet away, suffering severe injuries. He was pronounced dead at the scene, CHP said in Sunday's news release. Another incident involved Rene Medina Jimenez, 31, of Oregon House, who was driving his sedan westbound on Highway 20 at about 6 a.m. Saturday. Jimenez was traveling at about 65 miles per hour when his vehicle drifted to the shoulder and he steered sharply back to the left, according to Sunday's CHP news release. The sedan crossed over the highway to the eastbound shoulder, struck an object, became airborne, and landed on boulders. The vehicle rolled over and came to rest on its wheels. Jimenez suffered injuries to his neck, back, chest, and right shoulder, CHP said. Both accidents are still under investigation. Phone calls placed to Sutter Roseville seeking an update on condition of Jimenez are not returned as of press time. And a story by Trina Kleist of the Union, with Grass Valley facing continued budget cuts, including reductions to public safety. Police officers are exploring the possibility of sales tax increase to fund positions. According to a telephone survey conducted in January, most city residents would support a 0.25% sales tax hike to support public safety, said Alex Gamelgard, president of the Grass Valley Police Officers Association and a detective with the department. The idea is exploratory, could be shaped to include fire protection, but has not yet come before City Council, Mayor Janet Arbuckle said. I know they're trying to look for, due to the limited funds the city has, other ways they could raise money for public safety, Arbuckle said. The council would discuss anything that was brought to us. Pollsters used an automatic response format when they telephoned 3,000 households where 1,700 people answered. People listened to a recorded message asking whether they would support a 0.25% sales tax increase in the next election to support public safety, then were asked to push buttons on their telephone for a yes or no response. Of those who answered the phone call, 209 people responded in favor, 143 against the idea, Gamelgard said. That gives results of 59% favoring, 41% against such a proposal. I don't believe we'd be looking to put it on a primary or general election ballot, but it's something that we want to start talking about, Gamelgard added. Sworn officers on Grass Valley's force have been reduced from 31 positions in 2006-07 fiscal year to 20 this year. Cuts have affected staff from top to bottom. January retirement of Captain David Remillard left one captain, sergeant have been reduced from 4 to 3, and officers on patrol shifts have been reduced from 4 to 3 positions per shift. Specialized narcotics enforcement, traffic enforcement, special incident response, and guaranteed investigative response have all been eliminated on top of the officers' cuts, Gamelgard wrote. Due to the staffing cuts, the ability of officers to engage in self-initiated police activity has drastically reduced. This is because the number of calls a police officer goes to that are response-generated rather than proactive has nearly doubled on a per-officer basis since 2005. Grass Valley's sales tax is 7.375%, 1/8% higher than the California state sales tax. Across Nevada County, the small sales tax increment funds public libraries. Even with a 1/4-cent sales tax added to Grass Valley's tax basis, Grass Valley would remain below the sales tax level of Nevada City and Truckee, Gamelgard wrote. The idea would be for this tax initiative to enhance police and fire services. He sees increasing staffing levels as a safety issue both for the officers and the public. More officers would allow officers to move effectively to deter crime being proactive, Gamelgard wrote. Instead, we are generally reacting to crimes that have already occurred. We think proactive policing can be accomplished by looking at the internal operations, but also by increasing funding. A Captainville man found in violation of his probation stemming from the felony animal cruelty conviction has been sentenced to 360 days in jail, according to the Sierra County District Attorney's Office. Justin Phillips Lombardo Barton, 19, had been sentenced in October to 5 years probation and no additional time in jail after he hit several cattle and ran over a cattle dog during annual Reeder Ranch cattle drive. Sierra County Superior Court Judge John Kennelly had sentenced Lombardo Barton to 122 days in county jail with full credit for time served and 5 years supervised probation. Kennelly chose not to impose community service as a condition of probation, saying Lombardo Barton would be better served spending that time finding employment. He was also directed to undergo counseling. But according to Sierra County District Attorney Larry Allen, Lombardo Barton didn't do any of that stuff. He did not keep contact with probation, Allen told the Union. We completely lost track of where he was. We didn't know where he was living. He was supposed to be at his father's house, but that lasted about 3 days, apparently. Kennelly gave Lombardo Barton a break, Allen said, in order to allow him to find work to pay restitution. Allen said Friday Lombardo Barton is now expected to serve 360 days in Sierra County Jail before being placed back on probation. Lombardo Barton was driving past the annual cattle drive on June 19, 2011, when the ranch's cattle are driven from Pike to the high country. He was almost through the herd when he whipped the steering wheel to the right and gunned it, hitting several cattle. He also drove his sheep towards several horseback riders and then ran over Maggie, the cattle dog belonging to the ranch owner, John Reeder. The Jeep nearly severed one of the dog's legs, caused severe internal injuries that required more than 4 hours surgery. Well, Maggie's okay now. Well, better. And that's it for local news. And now we would like we would thank the Union, Amy Goodman, Reuters, Associated Press, and others for the source of my news, and you for watching. You can watch this broadcast, Comcast Cable, NCTV, Channel 11, Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, 7 Link 16 in Truckee and Alta Sierra, and it's free. We also are streamed on internet at NCTV's Digital Media Center website at nevadacountytv.org and gvtv.org, and don't forget Grass Valley Television that plays 24/7 on the net, grassvalleytelevision.com. We post to Facebook, YouTube, blip.tv, and many other sites, and also we have an RSS feed and video podcast on iTunes. Just search under video podcast for GVTV News. Content is controlled by the producer of this newscast, me. Grass Valley Television is not necessarily the opinion of NCTV Digital Media Center. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events around Nevada County. If you have any want more information about this, you can contact us at Grass Valley Television at gmail.com or 362-8889. This show was produced by Grass Valley Television, Rural County's television network, and we'll see you Wednesday. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. Do you like desserts? They got them. You like international style lunches? They got them. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. Bellstar Shop is a one-of-a-kind place you will find on the Ridge. Steaming hot coffee and a cool atmosphere with healthy food, organic desserts, and meals available. Belle and her smile will not be forgotten the first time you visit.